I'm called Chris Ogon at Kwasize. Pen name I'm called Ogon. I'm an editorial cartoonist. I love cartooning. I've always loved art. I'm a trained artist. So from high school, I went to Makerere University School of Industry and Fine Arts. Majored in illustration with a bias in editorial cartooning. I had never heard about anyone anywhere in this country awarding cartoonists, because most people don't look at us as journalists. So when I saw the category, I picked interest because I thought maybe I had the work to qualify for the awards. Myself, I felt appreciated. I felt appreciated for the good work. Because when you win the first award, in some way you're motivated. You're motivated to push harder, to become more creative, because you have people following you, you're following your progress yourself individually.
This year we are going to be celebrating the third edition of the Uganda National Journalism Awards. The one thing that was lacking, I think, 3 years ago was a mechanism for recognizing and rewarding excellence in journalism. Having taught the journalists, we thought it was important to then complement that process or finish it by recognizing good journalism.
Almost every aspect of public life, every aspect of information that a citizen has a right to know. On a typical day, if you look across coverage for all the media that we have, television, radio, online, print, everything is covered.
My name is Stephen Senkaba. I'm a features writer at New Vision. I have a passion for arts, especially visual arts writing. The first awards were in 2014, I think. That's when I first submitted the very inaugural. It was a story on borders and how they have impacted in every aspect of our society. It was a simple story that sort of touched on nearly every aspect of our society. It was well received by ACME. That inaugural award, I got to meet colleagues that had done so well. And then I thought, first of all, it encouraged me to look at my work from a broader perspective, and then to think more carefully about audiences, and then to sort of contextualize my writing. Sometimes we do this, we work in a hurry. But then for me, from that occasion, it became very imperative. It became important for me that every work I did has to have certain sort of reader value, explanation of issues, and then bring in different strands of opinions and placing it in a wider context so that it gets more meaning, or it becomes more meaningful. From the first time, you walk away thinking that I've got to do better, that I've got to take my work more seriously, and that there are certain things I can't afford to miss. So that becomes for some of us, and especially for me, it became a sort of a deliberate plan that the next story I'm going to do will have to put into consideration things that I have seen the winning entries achieve.
Most of ACME's winners, the ACME Award winners, have actually ended up also winning recognition in other regional and international competitions, including the CNN African Journalist of the Year Awards, including the Zemeo, awards, and several other awards that recognize young journalists. So we definitely think that we are on the money to the extent that we have been able to recognize pretty much the same talent that others deem worthy of recognition, say something about the credibility of our own awards.
Caroline Ariba. I'm a features writer at New Vision. I was nominated for, I think, up to 4 categories. I think the most exciting of them was the overall, like, Journalist of the Year, Exceptional Journalist of the Year, and me, usually with these nominations, it's who I've been nominated with, and the names there were quite a big deal. So to even be equated to them in a category was so much. It was intimidating, but for me, I like challenges. I was just excited that I didn't even care if I won or not, but the fact that my name made it to that set of people, it meant so much. And then I retained my Arts and Culture award from the, I remember the first set of awards, I won the Arts and Culture. Then again, I retained this, and then I was, for explanatory writing, we were first runners-up, because it was a project, so we had a series of stories. Online, first of all, you start to look like you're such a big deal. Yes, and later on in the year, I got nominated for another award, the Foreign Press Thompson Foundation Awards, and I was up against a Nigerian and an Indian guy, and looking at their biographies, just bits of them. If I didn't have the ACME Awards to my name, I would have looked like, what is she even doing in this competition? That is, for me, so reading their accomplishments, reading the Indian guy's accomplishments, reading the Nigerian guy's accomplishments, then when you came to mine and I had these awards and all these mentions, it meant that I deserved a spot in the final 3. So I think generally the ACME Award sort of authentifies your byline.
In order to retain that degree of independence, especially given that ACME is too involved in training and supporting journalists, we thought that the people who actually decide on the winners should be independent of ACME. So we have a 12-member panel who have worked in journalism, of course, and the media industry, academia, who meet and go through these submissions.
We look for substance, what is the substance of a story, in the category in which it has been entered. So we have subject-based categories, like education, like health, energy and the extractive industry. So those are examples of subject-based categories where the criteria is pretty much standard. It's really the same. So we would look at the clarity of the story, the strength of the analysis, the quality of the analysis. So we look at some of those, the strength and the quality of the reporting, the sourcing, the evidence in the story. So those cut across all the subject-based entries. But then we also have other entries that are really more about both form and style. For instance, look at investigative reporting, because I think beyond the subject that is being covered as an investigative piece, for instance, whether it's for radio or TV, or online or print, we look specifically at how the story is presented, the mechanics that the journalists has undertaken to deliver that story, because investigative reporting is beyond the substance of what you're reporting, but it's also very procedural.
Even as Nile Breweries, our internal panel, we are always making sure that the exceptional journalists were selected purely on the merits of the work presented. But we just wanted to erase any doubt about the credibility of the judging process, so we decided to ally, so to say, with ACME, which we genuinely believe is a reputable organization. It's managed by well-trained and well-experienced journalism practitioners. So we wanted to make sure that our original idea of selecting an exceptional journalist is then given that independent judgment.
It's the premier awards in the country, and they are conducted by very professional people. The evaluation is very professional. So if an article is evaluated as a winner, it's really good. So in a way, it contributes to bring up the standards of reporting, bring up the standards of writing, and create something to look forward to, at least for many journalists who are just starting to write. That's something to look forward to.
I think some of the feedback that we've got is that editors have come to us and said that they have gone to ACME, for instance, and said, can we have a look at the criteria that you use in scoring these stories? And I think there is some evidence that the editors and newsroom that are actually taking this criteria on board and incorporating it in the way in-house.
We have people here who have won those awards, and now they are role models to the rest. They do sort of coach even the young journalists, because the young ones who have just come in look up to them, and so they are a very good example, and they do also help us to train the younger ones.